Hi again, it's me. That was wonderful. One more, Charlie. Thank you. That was incredible. Again, thank you all for being here, and now I have the true honor to introduce an incredible panel. So I guess as if you guys are ready to come on up, we'll do that. But we will be introducing our moderator, Aaron Augenblick, who is an animator, writer, director, and founder of Augenblick Studio. Am I saying that right? Augenblick? Yes? That's okay, cool. Who has produced truly some of the most twisted stuff that I watched in college. Superjail, Ugly Americans, Wonder Showzen, The Jellies. It's really amazing stuff. Stephen DeStefano, an Emmy-winning cartoonist and animator, a comic artist, chief licensing artist for our good friend Popeye for over 30 years. Did storyboard art, voice art, design for Ren and Stimpy. So again, it's stuff that really definitely affected me growing up. Mark Newgarden is a cartoonist who's worked on numerous projects. Everyone from Microsoft to Cartoon Network. He's an Eisner Award-winning author, and somehow, while doing all of the rest of that, you found time to help conceptualize and create the Garbage Pail Kids. So, again. And finally, J.J. Sedelmeier. J.J. is founder and former director of J.J. Sedelmeier Productions. I said this earlier, JJ. That's basically my entire childhood. JJ helped launch Beavis and Butthead, Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, which is a personal favorite. You guys reintroduced School of Rock and Nicktoons. So, yeah, helped basically everything that I watched in my entire life. So, again, I'm going to leave it to the actual good part. Here we go. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me? Hey, thanks everybody for coming out. This is such a big deal to be able to watch these awesome cartoons with an audience and live music, and it's very special. And I do want to add, because we all saw some of those little documentaries. We're only a few miles from the tenement where Max and Dave Fleischer were making those original Koko the Clown shorts. So that's pretty amazing that all this time has passed, and we're still watching them because they're so good, so funny, so clever, so creative. So it's really exciting to be here. So I'm going to dive right in because I have this incredible group of some of my favorite cartoonists. And the first question I want to throw out is I'd like to go through for everybody. I guess we'll start clockwise. I would like to ask the three of you, what was it that first attracted you to the Fleischer cartoons, and what did you find unique about them that got you excited? Mark?
Well, the Fleischer cartoons in New York City, anyway, they were on TV constantly. They were like tap water. You turn on the TV, you see Popeye, Betty Boop was on when I was a kid. They were just part of the culture in New York City. Didn't take too long to start appreciating how different they were than some of the other cartoons that were running on other channels. And, as I grew older and started going to places like this and seeing museum shows and seeing some of these, 1920s era films, it's pretty remarkable that they're still so entertaining and still so imaginative.
Stephen?
I think what attracted me was how weird they were. I love the weirdness, and I think it's something interesting about them. See, I didn't grow up with Betty Boop. Betty Boop it wasn't being shown in New York somewhere when I was growing up. But Popeye was certainly the thing for me. And the difference between the Fleischers and everybody else was they were in black and white. And that was really noticeable.
You had a color TV.
We did. We were rich in a very poor way. So something about the black and white made them very, very different. There's kind of a crackle to the Fleischers that no other studio had, really, I think. And they're just so good looking.
JJ?
I think I grew up in Chicago, so we didn't have too much exposure to them on television there. But when they did pop up, they were just weird and funky and rough and raw. But what actually got me interested in being involved in animation were their Superman cartoons, which, again, I had never seen them on television. I had seen a 16-millimeter print in black and white at a festival. And this is when I was in high school, and I tracked it down and was able to get some color 16-millimeter prints that I used in every report in high school and college that I possibly could figure a way of using them, because I'd never seen anything like them. But that rawness is what was great to see after being exposed to all this kind of sophisticated high-end stuff. So that's what was, and they were, it wasn't like a Terry Toons stupid rawness. It was a fun, New York rawness.
That's what I was going to say. Do you find that kind of unique rawness, the scrappiness? I mean, in watching these films, the things they're playing with and experimenting with, and like, let's try this, let's put this there, and then we'll do this, and we'll cut this out and tape it to this. Do you feel like that comes from the New York setting they were in?
I was going to say, I feel like that's something else. Is like they're very New York cartoons.
Yeah, very New Yorky.
But the production stuff you're talking about,
I just
think
mean
that's
the spirit
just
of
naive.
inventing
I
this.
just think they did what they could do as best as they could do it with the tools they had, with the people they had,
And the deadlines they had.
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
as soon as they became real good at it, the individual artists and animators, that's when like Disney and other people started come knocking at the door and
Taking
pull them
them
out
away.
of there. Yeah.
Right. The speaking of the style that they were working with, I want to direct a question to Steven, because you've drawn these characters maybe more than any of all four of us. How would you
Definitely Popeye. I've drawn an awful lot of Popeye.
How would you define the Fleischer style?
Well, that's good. That's a good question. There's something really bold about it. I guess, again, because it's black and white, and it's so black and white. You can present these characters in color, but they basically, they're designed to work in black and white. There's just a certain kind of iconography to them. They're just so bold. They just kind of like, they hit you immediately, which is what a cartoon character should absolutely do. And there's a certain kind of, it was great for me to see these. I haven't seen some of these. I've never seen a couple of these I've seen before. But there's there's real line work there. I mean, that's real craftspersonship. That's real pen work. That's extraordinary to see, because almost nobody can do that anymore, and I barely struggle to do it. And I work on an iPad, so there's no ink involved at all. But yeah, there's a real craft to what they're doing. Real old school draftsmanship.
Were you surprised to see, like, as I was watching these, the evolution of their style? It was very rapidly changing. I mean, the first one we watched was very clearly rotoscope. Yeah. It was just very Tracy. Yeah. And then within a few years, they really were developing a style and a language with the character. Did anyone else notice that or think about it?
No, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, that's one of the things I absolutely love about old Hollywood, traditional Hollywood cartoons, is like you can tell when a new animator is working, different animators working on certain scenes or another film or something like that. You could tell like there's a different hand. Maybe there wasn't, but they were evolving anyway. But that's one of the best things about old cartoons for me is like, oh, that guy did that, and then that guy did that, and that person did that. It's really cool. There's a definite. They're all amazing. But there's a definite evolution to the craft, for sure.
Speaking of craft, I want to direct a question to JJ, because I would say you're one of the animation experts I have known. What would you say are the new animation? So we all just watched these together. What were the new animation techniques the Fleischers were using in these, specifically the Koko the Clown shorts, that would become influential to animation for many, many decades to come?
In other words, the evolution of the actual animation processes?
What I'm more interested, well, we watched a lot about, like, obviously, rotoscope was fascinating and all these things, but I'm kind of more interested in the visual language of comedy they were sort of creating as they were going. And I'm just wondering, since you've worked so much in the animation techniques, mimicking a lot of techniques, and then also the comedy of animation, I'm wondering what you saw that might have been influential.
First of all, what we're seeing up there is, everyone's just trying to figure it out as they're doing it.
Right.
So it's not like they were using a manual of any kind, and there really weren't, except for Lutz's book that came out in 1920. I've always felt that the Fleischer stuff was better drawn than animated. If you pulled out a drawing, it looked terrific, but I found also that rawness and that struggle that you see on screen to try to make this stuff move as best as possible was what endeared me to it, because it wasn't polished. Back then, that's the best you got. And just the fact that you were seeing stuff moving was, probably entertaining in itself. And there are all sorts of techniques that you're seeing up there that if you want to get into it and learn how they had to do animation back then in terms of cutting things out and placing them down and registering them, it just blows your mind. I mean, how was anything even done? But it was all kind of really silly and vaudevillian and just, raw, there's that word again, raw jokes just to get a laugh. What was fun was when they start doing things with the animation that you can only do in animation.
Right.
You saw a lot of that with Felix, too. They took advantage of these things being drawings and film and stuff that you could do no other way. When it starts to adhere to some kind of laws of nature, that's no fun. So it's when they depart from that and things disappear and pop off and you just have to accept it. That's what was fantastic.
That's the funny thing about the first cartoon that we watched, which is so kind of earthbound, even because it's Koko, he's rotoscoped, but he's meeting his little brother, who's clearly not rotoscoped, but still they're sort of adhering to like certain rules of physics that, you keep thinking, no, you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want, really. You're a cartoon character. It was just kind of funny to see.
And the other thing that you're not being treated to is this background with the Fleischer family and the brothers. I mean, everything's Max, a little Dave, and I think we saw Dave on screen. Yeah. But, Joe and Charlie. Joe was the brother who was the technician and the electrician, and he was the one that really was behind the rotoscope stuff with Max, because Max was the name. And Charlie, I think, was in the recording and music end of it. Yeah. But I mean, these are like the Marx Brothers. I mean, they were brothers. They each had an individual talent, and there was so much of that in the industry. Everyone, before they knew it, they found out they were doing animation, or they had an animation studio, and most of them had no business whatsoever doing this stuff, but they were making a buck, and the film industry was in New York, and that's why it was happening.
I think that art is very generational. It's like somebody does something, and then there's the next generation of people that they see what they do, and then they did, and then they add to it. And I thought that, to your point about, it really sings when you see them doing something that could only exist in animation. Like this joke could only ever work if we're a cartoon. And you could see the evolution of that, because in the beginning, you're right, they're still adhering to some like vaudevillian rules and these kind of jokes that could have been done on a stage. And then I do have a theory that like the fact that these were the animations, like everybody here likes like the Looney Tunes, right? Like these were the animations a lot of those people were seeing when they were little kids, right? So Tex Avery may have seen this stuff, and then he was adding to it, and Bob Clampett was seeing this stuff, and you can kind of see these jokes morph over time, and in some ways deepen over time, and I think that's exciting. Speaking of Raw, everyone keeps saying Raw. Mark, you worked on one of my favorite, and I think one of the most important comic magazines. Is that what you call it? A comic magazine ever made, Raw. And I was wondering, being that Raw was very representative of a very specific place and time, I think this is as well. And I'd love to know, what do you think the Fleischers were saying about what it was like to live in New York City in the 20th century?
Ouch. I don't think they thought in terms of what they were saying. I think the idea was, as everybody's been mentioning, this is about getting a quick laugh, moving on to the next thing, trying to do a little bit better, hoping that nobody remembers what they did last month.
Do you think that, but there has to be something that's going in there based on the fact that they were living in the city and existing here. You don't think any of that seeps in?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, it has very New York sensibility.
I think they were political, but...
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to the West Coast studios, Disney is very often doing very rural type, scenarios. The clown goes out the window and we see Times Square. I mean, that's about as New York as it gets.
I love the way they're hopping around. I think I'm seeing, like in one cartoon, the chase scene with the giant. You're like on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn, and then you're on the top of 1600 Broadway with the cats, and it's you get these quick little shots of various places, and I'm trying to figure out where is that. And I don't think they were saying this is what it's like in New York. I think they're just saying this is what it's like, life.
Exactly.
It's just.
Well,
it happens to be in New York.
And they're New Yorkers, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of coming through the filter.
Right. I definitely think, I guess this would have been to come because it was a little early, but the fact that they were in New York and they were going up to Harlem and seeing jazz shows, and that was filtering...
jazz shows at 1600 Broadway.
Right.
In their building was a nightclub.
Really?
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, the Mecca Studebaker building was like this hub of music. And they used to have a sign on the side of the building dedicated to Big Spiderback, who used to play there. So they were just right there. Let's go downstairs,
I think that's a big part of it. They were a sponge of what New York was doing. I mean, obviously there must have been carnivals coming into town. There's just a lot of things they were representing. But I do think the fact that they were filtering in a lot of those very, very urban experiences, like the music that was happening, I think is very unique, and I don't see in Disney films of the same time. So, how do you think it sounds like everyone's in agreement that it was all about the jokes, right? It was like they were just out to make people laugh. How do you feel like they were using humor in their shorts, and how do you think it was unique as opposed to other people that were making cartoons like Bray or Disney? That were doing those types of things.
There's a lot of humor in my shorts. Yeah. Boy, that laugh just died right away. Go ahead.
You had me thinking is why.
I just wonder if we're getting a little bit more sophisticated about it than it actually was. I think it was. I think it was about making a buck and surviving.
Yeah.
And I think, and you find this in talking to the comic book artists.
Absolutely,
too.
yeah.
And just want to work. And hey, we got this thing where we're making movies, and we're getting a lot of exposure. And my name's up there. I guess I'm the guy. So we got to do all this. And ultimately, too, they confronted. Before they knew it, being big and doing a lot of work and having a lot of people that ultimately weren't happy because they weren't being treated like they thought they should be treated. That's why the Fleischers went to Florida. And the Disney confronted it too, where it's like, but I'm the benevolent, person who's running the thing. It's like these guys, these people found themselves in a position of they had momentum, they had success, and I think the Fleischers also were pressured into trying to come up against Disney, and that's a tough one.
Well, I'd like to poke on this because the three of you, do you see that there was a darkness in their comedy?
Yeah, I do.
I see it. I mean, the last one we watched was about the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know, I see it through line. Just watching these and just in general, it's something that I was attracted to. There's a darkness in their comedy that I think was incredibly sophisticated, and I think is different than what other cartoonists were doing at the time. Personally, do you agree or disagree?
That sounds right. I mean, I don't know. There's just a Fleischer flavor. I mean, maybe darkness is part of it. I mean,
certain cynicism, I think.
Cynicism.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
That's
And
very
it's a
New York-y.
cartoon. Let's end the world.
Yeah.
No, it's knowing we can do it. Why not?
I love that Fitz really wants to end the world.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
It's like that's the
Yeah.
best part. Is like he's like, let me at it. That's awesome.
Did Fitz become Bimbo?
They were
Feels
both
like.
dogs.
They're just both dogs. They're not the same character. Okay, I was
Not technically, no.
Okay, speaking of characters, is Koko the Clown the first animated cartoon character?
No.
Cartoon character? No. Why?
Gertie the dinosaur.
Gertie? Do we count Gertie as a cartoon character? Did it have enough of a personality?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I count Hounds and Fritz as cartoon characters, though. So, I mean,
Oh,
I
you-
go back to the comic.
I mean animated.
Oh.
Sorry, did I not say animated? Animated cartoon
Right, I
character.
don't know.
Yeah.
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 Gertie.
Yeah.
Gertie.
Gertie.
And after that, who would you say? Felix?
Felix happens around the same time. I love the fact they don't even bother to give this clown a name in these early
Yeah.
shorts. It's just the clown.
The Inkwell Clown, they say at one point. Okay. What? This is okay. Here's another thing that's unique about these cartoons that I love. We're close. Okay. This might be the last question. Max Fleischer's in them. The fact that the cartoonist is in the cartoons. Number one, why do you think they were doing that? Why do you think that was it part of like showing, oh, this is how animation is made?
Walter Lantz did it too.
Did
a lot of people were doing,
Okay.
Yeah.
were doing that. Yeah. That was
So it was
that's
sort of a
Part of
trope at the
it's
time.
part of the whole chalk talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presentation on stage where it was the drawings wouldn't have existed without the artist or something.
Right. That was McKay's shtick,
Right.
basically.
I will say, Max is funny.
He's really funny.
He's good.
I was really
You know?
impressed
He's no Buster Keaton.
by your great grandfather. It's very funny. But yeah, no, I just think that's interesting. I guess it started with vaudevillian, the vaudevillian actor presenting Gertie the dinosaur. But to what I'm leading to is, I think there's a relationship between Max Fleischer and Koko that's very intriguing. And what do you think it was? It was antagonistic.
Well,
correct?
if Koko is Dave, that answers a lot of questions.
Okay. You think he was representing his sibling?
Well,
rivalry.
Dave, we saw the picture of Dave in the suit, didn't we?
I mean, if you want to go political, there could be a little political thing there. The man, the clown is the worker, and he's messing with the boss, which is inherently funny. That's always funny.
That's interesting.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go political, but
Yeah.
I mean that seems part of it is like a power.
There was a TV version years later,
I'll
and
see your stuff.
yeah, and Koko constantly referred to him as the boss.
The boss.
The boss.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. So it's boss-employer
Yeah.
relationship.
And he can take revenge, the
Yeah.
conflict, and so forth. Yeah.
Probably economically,
Mm.
it was easy to do it. He's the boss.
Right.
I'm going to use me. I don't have to pay me.
Right.
That's probably
That's true
a lot
too.
of
It felt like he was popped up in other places. Was he also the automaton too? Was that Max? It
Yeah.
was, right?
Yeah.
It's really funny. Okay, so we're going to go to the audience? Is that the timing is right? Okay, so does anyone in the audience have any questions? I've been instructed to listen to what you ask and then repeat it. Right in the front.
I like that you pointed out the name, being that he's the clown in the inkwell.
Yes.
I was wondering, how did he come up with Koko? Was he thinking, was he into Gilbert and Sullivan?
Yeah, that's what we've heard. Yeah.
Or bubblegum. How did Fitz come to be Fitz? Does anyone know?
So he's loves the name, and that we pointed out the name, and was wondering about the creation of Koko and also the name Fitz for the dog.
Dogs have fits.
The concept of Koko did start with just tracing Dave, correct? The character.
Yeah.
But does anybody know where the name Koko came from?
Gilbert and Sullivan.
Oh, really? That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Okay. Right there. Yeah.
I would even say Fitz has a Jewish connotation as well.
In what way?
Just the name,
Oh, the
I
name.
can see it being also maybe there was another performer that had a similar name or something like that, but that even sounds Jewish.
I was going to say I think the Fleischers are the most Jewish studio.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and like, because Betty's Jewish. You know, I mean, like the Jewish jokes just kept going, and that gives it so much personality. I mean, that's really really cool. I mean, you're never going to see that stuff in a Disney cartoon.
Right. So that was another element that sort of creates the Fleischer vibe, is their Jewishness as well. Yeah, which is unique. Is it okay that I'm not repeating, because we're just kind of diving right in? Okay. Yes, right in the front. Were the cartoons all across were they distributed across the nation?
Originally in theaters, sure, yeah. But each local TV market would program differently.
I never saw a Tom and Jerry cartoon till I moved to New York.
Really?
They were not.
We
in
never
Chicago.
had
They were
we never
on
had them
TV
till
in
the
Chicago.
80s either.
And you really didn't see black and white stuff in Chicago.
I grew up in San Antonio. There was a program, children's program that showed Fleischer.
Yeah.
And yet, Casper the Friendly Ghost was shoved down my throat when I was a kid, nonstop. Yeah, I mean, the Fleischers was the only black and white cartoons that.
Right.
I mean, you had to go to PBS maybe to see
Right.
something other than a Fleischer.
Right.
You were lucky if you got to see a Betty Boop on PBS.
Popeye was pretty ubiquitous.
Popeye
I
was
saw a
completely
ton of Popeye,
Popeye
and
was-
they would play all of them, even the black and white ones. I would see.
Oh yeah,
you know?
oh no, oh sure, yeah. I mean,
Popeye-
just as much.
I think you said that. I think I agree with you that for me, Popeye was the first big, my big experience with Fleischer and the comedy of
Yeah.
Fleischer, because
Yeah.
they played them like crazy and they were so funny. Like,
Yes.
so funny.
Yeah,
Super
yeah,
funny.
yeah. Absolutely.
The feature,
Yes.
Gulliver's Travels.
But
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Bug Goes to Town, I did not see until I was an adult. That I didn't
Yeah.
even know was a thing. Sure.
Yeah, really amazing.
The whole rotoscope thing too was because they would show Gulliver's Travels when I was a kid, and it always felt though like with that approach to rotoscoping that there was this live action character deeply frustrated about not being
trapped
able to
inside.
escape, yeah, drawing, and that's why the Superman stuff later was so terrific. Is it didn't, it was reference. It wasn't a guide. Even Bakshi, was using it. Yeah. And in direct contrast with Gabby and the other cartoony stuff, it was weird.
If there's fans of the Superman, the Fleischer Superman cartoons, up in I think the King Tut room, I don't know where the Momi people are, but they're playing a bunch of the Fleischer Supermans, and they're awesome. Right in the front, striped shirt.
Talk a little bit about Superman.
Superman.
I had heard the story. I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, but if one or more of you could elaborate on how the Fleischers got the gig and how the budget got to be so astonishingly
I always loved them because the early ones, especially, they played it straight. He didn't say anything. He just got in there, did the job. The flying sequence, just beautiful. Just it's always how I imagined Superman would fly. And I grew up reading my dad's comics, so it was that time where Superman was just played more straight. That in the first cartoon, where he goes in to get the mad scientist and the generator and the power plant, starts to fall apart. There are scenes in there of the ink and paint work was just astounding because it didn't adhere to any sort of realistic rules. It was just hells a-pop and explosions. And when you, having grown up on Saturday morning stuff, to see these things, and the story supposedly, I'll make it brief, is that they were approached by Paramount to do Superman. They got the rights from National Comics to do Superman. And they just did not think they could handle it and wouldn't get the money they needed, so they gave an outrageous price of something like $100,000 a comic, a cartoon, not thinking for a second that the brass were going to go for it, and they went for it. But again, after about the 6th or 7th one, then they started getting cute with some comic relief, and it started taking the edge off of it. But if you have a chance to see them, especially on a big screen, oh my God!
Yeah.
Because they're actually, if you have a good print or a good DVD print, they're terrific, just great.
And it's like, who would have thought that the superheroes would take over the entire entertainment industry? But when you watch those Fleischers, don't you think they were setting the stage for the iconography of moving comic books in a way that was like incredibly influential?
Yeah. I mean, I worked on Batman and Superman, the Bruce Timm stuff, for a bit, and that was the point of reference. If you talk to those guys, that was
they
the
were
point of
referencing.
reference, plus Space Ghost to some degree. But the thing is like, well, the budgets weren't that, so they couldn't do what the Fleischers did. But also, there's a kind of like JJ was saying, there's a raw primitive. I mean, it's the strongman. It's the prime strongman. He doesn't care about, what Lex Luthor's reason to do this stuff is, or the mad scientist, or whatever. He knows he's just going to knock down that wall, and that's in essence what Superman is all about. Just like tearing shit up. I mean, knocking down walls and like picking stuff up and throwing it. It's really, really amazing. And even at DC Comics, they would reference that as like, that's, not every editor or not every writer for sure, but they would go back to say like, that's the Superman we want. He has to struggle to pick stuff up.
Right.
It's more interesting if he struggles to pick stuff up. If he just looks it up with his pinky, that's not that interesting. So
I don't know about other characters too. I don't know.
I heard that they were floating Batman, but it wound up as a really bad serial.
And it's a shame they didn't do Captain Marvel, or what is called Shazam now. Only because he's more of a cartoony character, he would have been probably more fun taken to animation.
He looks like Koko the Clown.
Yeah. But and also again, the comic books were for kids, and I don't know how many studios are willing to invest too much in that.
That's not a bad serial though, the Captain Marvel serial.
No,
it's okay. It's not terrible.
Better than the Superman
better
going
than
from
Superman
live
and
action
Batman.
to animation. If you've never seen the live action serial for Superman with Kirk Allen, all the flying sequences were animated. So he'd go behind a rock and this animated character would come out.
I'm told I've got to wrap it up with one more question. Okay, one more question. You, right there. Seems-
So Max literally made new inventions to innovate in his animation. And nowadays we have The Simpsons, South Park, and Family Guy running for into their 30th season. So I just want to get your guys' take on where the future of the animation industry lies. And where we're going to see animation
I'll let you guys handle that.
I think we run out of time, right? We have no time. There's no time left.
Do you guys want to answer that?
No.
No?
Look. The Simpsons are amazing. The fact that they've held on and so forth. It's and I like Family Guy.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Does it make you laugh? Good. That's all I'm looking for. And it's a parody. I mean, that's where. I mean, it seemed for a while animation was going in the direction of anything 2D was going to parody something that was established and something that was a kiddie style now was going to be used to deal more with adults than anything else because that's what we grew up with and now we're old. But it's I don't know where it's going, and I have a feeling and I have a fear that the technology will allow things to be done in a more cost-effective manner, and that will be favored over doing something that isn't necessarily so cost-effective. I mean, that's seems to be driving it now. I mean, and even in advertising, advertising agencies are opening up their own. They're doing it in-house, and if there's a revision, again, AI, man, that's where it's at.
I mean, I think you can see it in all of these. I'll try to put an optimistic spin, which is if you look at these, one of the things I get from it that I think is really fun is you feel Max's excitement about technology. Like they were having a lot of fun tinkering with all these. He was a scientist. He was also a cartoonist, but he was inventing things all the time and having fun with it. So what I'll say is, art is, animation is linked with technology, right? And what would you say, the relationship is between animation and technology? Do they help each other? Are they at war with each other? Or what are they doing? Did I stump the panel?
You can't separate them.
Yeah.
Right.
And the best work that takes everything into consideration is the work that uses whatever the tool is because it pushes the idea forward and the design has to be a part of that as well and but you wouldn't without technology and the development of it through the years starting at the turn of the century and film even you wouldn't have.
How many people in this room own an inkwell? I do, but Stephen probably does.
Maybe.
I love that. I love that, JJ, because what you said about it, the technology has to push it forward. And I think we're at a point now where technology is changing again, and we need to see what can actually push the medium forward and not hold it back.
And it's done so much for animation. And look, if you want to draw on paper and you want to paint cells and you want to use film, go nuts. But I don't see why. Because now you can do whatever you want to do without that, and it's much less cumbersome, and it's much more streamlined, and it's much more gratifying because you don't have the concern about everything from revisions to cost. And, you can be a one-man studio now. You don't need a crew of people.
That's true. That's another.
Not bad. That's not a bad thing.
That's another positive thing.
So
I love it.
I'll just say as sort of an opposing view, not necessarily, but I'm not a tech guy. I don't like science at all. I mean, I like to draw, and that's why I got into cartooning and animation. And so to me, it's like I don't know. I guess there's machines involved in it and lights and
but
things.
You draw on a tablet, right?
I draw on a tablet for sure, but
a lot of people wouldn't even go there.
Sure, absolutely. But I just think it is a little magic screen that, like, I press my. I'm still drawing. So I would just say, not necessarily opposing, but I would speak for the artists involved, and I think of it as form of communication, a way to get my point across, a way to express myself. And I would say, if you want to know what the future of animation is, then find your favorite animators, or find your favorite cartoons, or find your favorite venues for cartoons, and let everybody know how much.
Stalk them.
Let everybody know. Let the companies know. Let Warner Brothers know. Let Disney know how much you like this stuff. I mean, I think that's where the future is. Is you gotta, if we love it, we gotta make sure it stays around.
That's amazing. And to wrap up, I will say some of my favorite cartoonists are right here. So I want to thank Stephen DeStefano, Mark Newgarden, and J.J. Sedelmeier for being here.
And I've loved Aaron's stuff for 25 years. So
you've always
Cheer
been
for
very
Aaron.
nice. Thank you. And last, I want to thank Mauricio and Skylar, and also the museum, the Moving Image, and the awesome Charlie Judkins who did the music tonight. So thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Support the arts.
Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop, boop-boop-a-doo.